Welcome to Biological Evolution for Summer 1, 2024. The purpose of this short orientation video is just to walk you through all of the material and the tools that you have to help you through the semester, and then also to go over how the course will work, how to do well, how you will be graded. Okay, so when you access the Blackboard page, you'll notice several content areas as listed here in this left-hand side pane. We've got a syllabus and the calendar. We're going to go over the syllabus and go through that. As we do that, we'll hit most of these content areas, talk about what they are, and then we'll finish up and wrap up the rest. So when you click on this link, you'll get this Word document. That's the course syllabus. Syllabus, of course, is like a contract and agreement between you and the instructor of the course. Okay. So it's an online asynchronous course. That means that you can do it as it's convenient for you. However, you need to make sure that you keep up with the material. If you miss a day here and there, and then you can make it up the next day, not a huge deal as long as you're not missing assignments that are due in due dates, and we'll look at the calendar in a little bit. But please don't miss 2-3 days in a row and then try to cram it all in. That's not a productive way to learn. So it's a really good idea to set aside a specific time, an hour to an hour and a half each day, just as if you're going to a class. And if something comes up and you can't do that hour, do it later in the day. Or if worst case scenario happens, catch up the next day. But you really need to keep up even though it is asynchronous, meaning that there's not a specific meeting time or a specific time you need to sit for the lectures. There's not a required textbook. If you are one of those people who really needs a textbook, I think that's maybe a minority of people. There are supporting readings in this textbook. Second edition will work fine. You just might need to double check about the content. So everywhere I'm going to have a reading assignment from the textbook, it's listed as optional. Okay. Everything that will be on quizzes, on exams, will come from the lecture material, from the worksheet material, from the SLOs, things that we will go over on Blackboard, and you'll have that supporting material and video lectures and worksheets in other areas. All right. I have a physical office. I will be there at really unpredictable hours during the summer. Best way to get a hold of me, of course, is by email. I also do have set hours Monday, Wednesday, Friday from noon to 1 for office hours. I will be online. I will be there. If no one's there, I'll be doing work and doing other things, but on with my headphones on. I really highly encourage you to come to these office hours. Come with questions. You can do it before an exam or after a lecture. If you just want to talk about things, or if you saw something, in the news that reminded you of a topic, whatever, I'm there and available. Those 3 hours every week. Also, I have lots of other availability. So if those don't work for you, if there's something urgent, please send me an email and we can set up a time where we can meet. This will be the Zoom link we're going to be using for all of those online meetings. So it's nice and convenient. If you've got an internet connection, you can access me during those times and by appointment. Now, evolution is one of the two fundamental concepts that underpin all of biology. And you've probably had a good deal of evolution already in high school biology and introductory courses. We're going to go into them in a little bit more detail. But with that said, it's an incredibly broad topic. Many of our chapters can be, and even are on our campus or sometimes at a graduate level, but are entire courses in and of themselves. So of necessity, we're going to be hitting the highlights. We'll be talking about main ideas and concepts, a little bit of application of main ideas. You get to do a little bit of applying those principles. Okay, but it is a little bit like an intermediate class between a general shallow overview of many topics and some depth and detail. Okay, so we are covering all these topics at various times throughout the semester. And so by the end, you should have a really good grasp at kind of a fundamental level of the biological diversity of our world and how it comes about and how it changes over time. All right, there are 4 main areas in this course by which you will be graded. The first is our exams. There are going to be 4 of them. Now, the exams are online. They're on Blackboard. They will be in very similar format to the quizzes, and you'll have several quizzes before the first exam, so you'll kind of know what to expect. But instead of 5 questions, there will be 50 questions on these exams. But they are online. I've looked at like the lockdown browsers and all sorts of things for online courses, and in my opinion, the kind of the negative side of those outweighs the advantage. So they're going to be open-ended, open material. You can use your notes because you'll be online wherever you are. You're welcome to use whatever resources you feel are helpful. But please treat it like a standard exam. Sit down, answer the questions the best you can. If you get stuck on one, feel free to go past it and then come back to it later. But you won't be able to do that for every single question. If you're trying to understand and look up the answer for every single question, you're probably going to struggle a little bit because there is a standard 90 minutes. Okay, so just be aware. And I know there is again, it's a give and take. I don't want to be too draconic and try and have computer programs looking over your shoulder and punishing you or making you feel nervous. So it is what it is. They're open-ended, makes it a little bit easier. But please come prepared, treat them kind of like a regular exam, but with the added crutch that if you need to, you can look up at a question or refer to your notes or something like that. Now, with that said, this applies to other things, but it's especially critical for exams. You need to make sure you've got a really good, stable internet connection. Okay, so if that's not where you're at home or wherever you have your internet you commonly use, for tests, please make a special trip. You can come to campus. Get onto the Wi-Fi, or even if you don't have a laptop, go to a computer lab. That way you've got a really good, solid, reliable connection when you're taking those exams. Now, in addition to the exams, there'll be 2 quizzes each week. The dates vary a little bit because of holidays and things like that. But the calendar and then our daily links folder will help you keep up. We'll look at them here in just a bit. The quizzes are just 5 questions. The very first one, which will be on Tuesday, you can take as many times as you want just to kind of get familiar with the format. After that, all of the additional quizzes, you'll just log on anytime during the day that they're listed, and I actually give you 1 day leeway, so you could do them the day after if you need to. But by then, we're on to the next chapter, so it's probably best to do them on the day of, but if you forget or you need a little bit of extra time, you have 1 extra day for each of the quizzes. Okay, so you'll take that first one as many times as you want, so you can get a perfect score. After that, just 1 quiz. You'll have ample time, though. They're 30 minutes for only 5 questions, so you have really lots of time to do those quizzes. And again, they're online, so open resources as you take that. At the end of the semester, I take your lowest score. If you just forget one and miss one, no big deal. If you miss 2, then it's going to impact your grade. If you get them all, then whatever your lowest score was will just be dropped and won't impact your grade at all. So a little bit of a bonus there for the lowest score there. Worksheets. The worksheets are Word documents. The first one is now available online. There's a guide video that's pretty self-explanatory, but in addition, I am here to help. The worksheets are going to take a little bit more time and effort than like a question on a quiz or on an exam, but they're designed to be interactive or to be cooperative. If you want to, you can make friends on Blackboard. If you already have other friends taking the class, do them together, but both turn in a completed version. If you don't want to or don't have people to work with it, I'm happy to work with you during my office hours or by appointment to go over the worksheets. There are 5 of them. They're all required. They're all set. You can work on them bit by bit up until the due date, so you're not cramming them in at the last minute. They're due on the date they're listed. You can turn them in late, but if they're 1 day late, it's automatically 25% off of the score, and then 50% and 75% on the 3rd day. So after the 4th day, they're no longer worth any credit. Okay, so we'll look at those schedules, but there are 5 spread throughout the semester. The last unit upon which you will be graded are reading questions that correspond to our reading assignments. Now, you do not have required reading from a textbook. Those are optional, and they're listed there to help if you want to read a textbook. But there are required readings. They are posted in one of those content areas that we looked at earlier, and we'll look at them. It's typically short. Some of them are a little longer than others, but you don't need to memorize them or understand them completely. Just read through the assignment. And then you will have 2 questions to answer. They're open-ended questions, so you'll be typing in your answers. They don't need to be long. They can be a sentence or 2, but just to get you engaged and thinking about it. If you do these questions, if you get them turned in on time, don't forget any of them, you will get a full credit. So it's basically a participation points, and that's 15% of your overall grade. So it's important that you keep up with those. There are 17 of them throughout the semester, so roughly 3 a week, 2 to 3 a week. They're a little heavy the first week, and then it's a little lighter later on. But don't miss them. If you miss one, no big deal. It's dropped just like the quiz scores are. So I dropped the lowest one, which gives you a little bit of leeway, but please keep up with those. It's very easy, at least I've tried to make it easy in this course, to make sure you don't miss any due dates. You have a calendar with everything listed there, so you already know at the beginning of the semester when everything is due. In addition, to kind of streamline things for the online course, I also have a content section that's called Daily Links. And what that is a list of everything that you need to do that day. And again, for some things, you're like, oh, I don't have time to watch that lecture today. You could do it the next day. But there are some things, quizzes, reading assignments, worksheets, that are due on those days. But they're listed there, and so you'll know. We'll look at that here in just a little bit. So at the end of the semester, again, with the one dropped quiz and one dropped reading question, everything else is added up. All 4 unit exams and the final exam. And final exams are composed of questions you've already seen off of all the previous exams. So I write my exams. They're slightly different every semester. New questions, new formats. You'll be taking those for each unit, but I will post keys. After everyone's taken it, I'll post a key to give you all the questions for those exams. You'll be able to look at them on Blackboard. And so you'll be able to review, and you'll know all of the questions that are possible for the final exam. So it's a little bit of a boost. That last exam, you will have questions that you've seen before on previous exams. Okay, fairly standard grading curve. You have to get at least a 90 for an A, 80 for a B, and so on. So think of it as 50 out of 100 points possible for your exams. So if you get a 90% average on all your exams, then you would get 90% of those 50 points that are that half of the score that goes towards your exams, and then so on for all the other sections. Okay, so just again, a little bit of a reminder. You have ample time to complete each element of the course. You have a calendar. You have the daily links folder to keep you on track, to make sure you're keeping up with everything. It's really, really important you don't fall behind. I'm going to emphasize that again. All the lectures are on YouTube. Most of them I've tried to break down into smaller segments, like 20 minutes, but some are a little longer. You don't have to watch them all at once. But again, if you can set aside a time to do it and not be trying to cram multiple sections in a single day, then you'll be much happier and you'll learn the material much, much better. Okay, again, office hours, I'm happy to go over with you, review them, ask questions, review concepts, work on worksheets, whatever you need. The last thing I will mention, this is a little different for online courses, so please communicate with me if you fall into this category. And even if you don't, just keep it in mind. Sometimes things happen and circumstances change, and so you may need some of the resources provided by Student Accessibility Services. They have a lot of really great resources and things that can be helpful. So please reach out with me, contact them so we can make it official, but communicate with me so I can help you with anything that you need. All right, so the calendar is also posted here. So this link here, right there, will take you to the calendar. It's just a PDF. Again, everything that is due here in the right-hand column, remind you when the quizzes are due, when all the reading questions are due. Again, a little heavy for the first unit, then it lightens up a little bit. So 4 exams spread roughly evenly throughout the semester. That final exam is set by the university, but because they're online exams, you can pick the time. There will be a time limit, though, so once you start, 90 minutes, 50 questions. After 90 minutes, you'll won't be able to go any farther. But you can backtrack, so if you skip a question and your time hasn't run out, you can go back and review and can complete those questions. And they will be available all day long on the day they're due. We won't have anything else that day, so you can concentrate on that exam. Set aside a specific time, pick a good time so that you can focus on that and complete it. Okay, so the calendar is here so that you know when everything is. And unless there's a school cancellation, shutdown, everything will stay on the day it is. Okay, so that's there for your reference. In addition, the link underneath the syllabus and calendar here, the content area, is called Daily Links. Now, you won't be able to see all of these because I don't have all the units available to you and won't until they begin. But for instance, Unit 1, here is the first chapter on Monday. So in addition to listening to this video, which is right here, watch this course orientation video. In addition, there are a number of assignments, and typically 7 or 8 things. Some are 20-minute videos to watch, some are quick reading or quick reading questions to finish. Okay, so there are the 9 things that you should do for Monday, June 3rd. So everything is in that folder of what you need to do, and in addition, you can double check on the calendar. For June 4th, right, you have 7 things in our first quiz you're taking on at the end of the day on Tuesday. But again, reminder, if you need 1 extra day, you can do that. But if you're keeping up and getting the quizzes done, it's off your plate. You're keeping up, you're assimilating the material and learning it well. So daily links, you can just check on, and that will tell you what you need to do each day. I, again, recommend a set time. I know it seems a little weird, like, oh, it's asynchronous. I don't need to do it at any specific time. But if you have a habit, a pattern, it makes it easier. You keep up with everything. In addition, even though it's an online course and you're watching videos, focus on the videos, right? If you've got something else running in the background, right? If you're playing Fortnite while you're watching the video, you're not going to be learning and assimilating it. I also highly recommend you take notes. I find written notes, handwritten notes, although it can be a little bit of a pain, are the best way to help your mind remember, assimilate, and learn the material while you're listening. And studies bear this out for most people. If you're just watching a video, you only learn a small percentage. If you're watching and taking notes, you learn a much greater percentage. If you then go back over your notes later on, like as you're getting ready for the exam or the end of the day, you learn even more. So all these tricks, many of which hopefully you already know as a college student, but treat it a little bit like a regular course. So these next 3 here, well, the reading questions are questions that are listed, and there are links for, or reminders for those in the daily links, but here are all 17 of your reading assignments. And then in the daily links is the link. So you would, for Monday, read paper 1, and then click on that link in the daily links folder and write in 2 quick short answers to show that you've read it and you began to integrate it. It's a good idea to make sure you're doing those and understanding them, because you may see very similar questions or content to those reading questions on quizzes and exams. Okay, so readings are there. The PowerPoint is simply the PowerPoint files that are used in the lecture, the online lectures. So if you want them, if you want to take notes on them, my PowerPoints tend to be pretty streamlined with only a little bit of text. That's why you have the video and the lecture to fill in those things. And then finally, this third link under here, SLOs. That's an acronym for Student Learning Outcomes. And this is a list of all the things that you should know after reading the reading assignments, watching the lectures, doing the worksheets, doing all this supporting material that you have. And so it's a Word document. We'll open up the first one here. There's one for each of these, right? This is for our introduction, right? You should know definition for words that are in bold. So definition of evolution, which will be taught in that lecture 1. Definition of what a population is. What are the 3 main forces of evolution, and be able to define and describe those. So this will just list them. They'll get a little bit more longer and detailed. This is just for the very first brief introductory part of the course. And so if you have notes and you go over these SLOs, you will have everything that you need for quizzes and as you're getting ready for exams. So think of the SLO as like a study guide, a review to go back over and make sure you've got everything. If there's something you're uncertain about or something you missed, like, oh, I don't know the answer to that question, then come to an office hour or make an appointment to ask me about it. So this is a really great guide and help as you are learning the material and getting ready for exams. Okay. Last 3 contents. You won't be able to see that one. That's just for me. But these last 3 content areas. The worksheets. Worksheet 5 is due not for another full week. And there will be reminders in the daily links and on the calendar. But your worksheet you'll find here. The worksheet is a Word document you'll download and then just type into it. You'll change it, answer questions, do the problems. There's a guide video to help you do that. That's really helpful and should be able to get you pretty much everything you need. But if you're stuck, reach out, come to an office hour. Once you've completed that worksheet, all you do is then you click on the assignment, you upload that completed worksheet file and submit it. You get it in by the due date. And again, you can get full points on those if you come and make sure you checked with me, watch the guide video. Maybe you'll feel comfortable with just the guide video. But I'm happy to verify and go over anything you have questions of so you can get full credit for the worksheets. The last two are simply where the first quiz will appear here. The first one's on Tuesday, June 4th. And so the quizzes will appear there the day that they're listed on the exam, and they'll disappear the day after. So you need to make sure you take it, preferably the day they're listed, but if you need an extra day, that's built in there with the quizzes. And then lastly, this is, again, empty. Both of these are empty at this point because we haven't had any quizzes or exams. Exam number 1 will appear in here the day it's available. It'll be there the entire day. You'll be able to log on and take it any time during that day, but you need to make sure you have enough time, right? So midnight to midnight, I don't know that you want to get up at 1 a.m. and take it that day, but if you want to, you could. But anytime from when you get up in the morning to when you go to bed that day. But again, those worksheet or those exams are on that very specific day and are required to be completed by that day. Okay, so that's all of your material. That's everything you need for the course. Please review the syllabus. We hit all the high points, review it, go over it, make sure you understand it. And if you have any questions, reach out to me. I will be online on Monday from noon to 1. If you want to meet me, I guess virtually, not in person, or talk about anything or have any questions, please also feel free to email me. I'll try and check my email every day. Occasionally during the summer, I might be out and miss a day, but mostly I'll be every day or 2 or 3 times each day. I'll be checking emails and getting back to you while the term is going. Okay, so hopefully you have a very successful summer. You'll be able to learn a lot and do well in the course. Reach out to me if you have any questions.